Listen, this is one time around. There's no more do-overs. There's no more practice runs. No more making believe. This is the big one, son.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Well, that's what happened with Mike Tyson. He was in a reformatory in Customata. He used to go and take the toughest kids, and the state would pay him to put him in his home, and then he would bring him to the gym and train him.
Isn't it weird how Mike Tyson is now this modern day sage?
Yeah, I mean, listen,
he's got some great things.
He's been through hell.
He's got homing pigeons.
He's been through hell.
He's got some great things to say. I listen to him.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who,
listen, Mike Tyson
when he said,
named a white pigeon after me, bro.
Really?
What, you laughing at me?
No. Once again, no.
But he's one of the examples. And I used to do some stuff with the East Orange Pal in boxing. And sure enough, I'm on patrol one night. We get a call, some kids are breaking in the car. I go up there and I see one of the kids running. It's one of the kids from East Orange Pal. And I remember we caught him. And I said, what do you think Coach Bilal will say to you? And he goes, he's going, beat my ass. It's exactly what the kid said to me. Because that program was designed to get the kids on the straight and narrow, focus them.
Well, I mean, you also have to, at some point, you have to respect them and have them respect you. And that's the way to go about it, not by being angry or beating them up. You have to love them. And if it doesn't work, then you can't play.
Well, you can't yell at anybody unless you show love behind it. It doesn't work.
I mean, I grew up in that, so I understand all that. But, sometimes you have to sit them down. Sometimes you tell them you can't come out. Sometimes, kids just are frustrated.
So how did you transition after you sobered up? After your last fight, you transition and you're counseling people. Now you're taking what you learned by sobering up and counseling people. If you had to, your greatest piece of advice that you give somebody who's in the throes of addiction, throes of sobriety, or the early stages of sobriety, what do you think is the best piece of advice to give them?
Don't do it. Listen, you have to abstain. You have to understand that, I tell people, spend a half an hour and on one piece of paper, write the last 3 times you went out from beginning to end on one piece of paper. And if you like my story, there's no more fun. It's over. So stand up to the plate. Get Yankee Stadium. Swing the bat. But this is, you put it on the refrigerator. You put it in your car. You put it in the bathroom. And you look at it because that's where you're going if you're lucky. And a lot of people get lost on Route 1 in those hooker hotels. They go in, they never come out. I've heard it. I've seen it. Listen, this is one time around. There's no more do-overs. There's no more practice runs. No more making believe. This is the big one, son.
Life is a one-shot deal.
And I told the guy today, listen, he kept on trying to explain to me how he was going to do it this way. I said, well, then why don't you try it your way and then tell me how that works out for you? Try it your way.
It's sort of an accountability list, right? Is that what you're looking at?
We have to learn. What I've really come to learn is that I have come to learn to love myself. I'm important. And I've attracted people who are like-minded people, who I can trust, who I admire, who I love. And I try and give that out.
But you have an energy about you right now. Okay, so
I've always had an energy.
That's what I'm going to ask you. Is it always like that?
I'm always
even when you were younger?
Dude. I'm a crazy guy. Listen, I love people. When I leave people, they pay me to come back. I give them a hard time, and they pay me to come back.
They love the abuse. They get used to comfortable with the abuse.
You're talking about hanging around with like-minded people. Back when you were self-sabotaging, were you associating yourself with self-sabotaging people?
I went to a party in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace with everybody from Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, Dean Martin, everybody you could ever imagine you want to meet. They were at the party with me, and Larry Holmes. Now, obviously, at that time, I wasn't allowed to feel it.
Yeah.
So I just wrote a book, and it's called Gentleman Gerry, A Contender in the Ring, a Champion in Recovery, right? It's been out since the pandemic. We got killed with the pandemic. And
did you bring us a signed copy?
No, I hadn't thought about the book. You know what I mean?
Look at this.
I know.
Look at this.
They have Barnes and Noble. They have,
next time he comes
this is a free interview, bro. And You know, I had this guy who writes a great guy, he's a therapist, but he was kind of like a little soft. You know what I mean? My life was anything but soft. So I had to read the book, and I had to clean it up. And it was the first time in my life that I was able to admire my life and my career, where I came from. I was not supposed to get to where I went to. And somehow, my God, you know, they say, you know, I'm reading this story about how God will pay you back tenfold. And I believe that today, that God saw this kid that was trying and just kept getting knocked down. And he showed me the way. And then he even showed me the way when I was to fight Holmes, but I didn't take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if he comes to me and I take it, then I grow, then opportunities come. But if I am a little too afraid and I pull back and I tighten up, I don't take it, then it goes away.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. I believe in that night. And that being said, I still, you know, most of the guys I've been with all those years are struggling today. They didn't save any money. They are struggling with too many shots. And I made it out okay, unless you talk to my wife.
Yeah, but see, Gerry, I have a feeling. I have a theory. Okay, I have a theory.
We're gonna hear this.
Yeah.
Theory.
Watch out.
My theory is
Strap up.
you were always put in the exact position that you were meant to be in. For instance, in 1982, you were meant to lose to Larry Holmes. Can you imagine what would happen if you won that? You became heavyweight champion of the world when you had this addiction monster on your back.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what may have the possible consequences of you winning that
I
fight?
think bigger than that. I think God saw that, and He gave me the tools, the direction, but I wasn't able to take it at that time. Like, you know, I work with kids and people today. They can't see what I can see sometimes. They don't get it. They don't get what they need to do. They need to stand up and they need to, you know, fight a little bit. And a lot of times you have to go away. And that's an analogy with God. He comes to us.
Well, you
he
have
gives
to-
us the opportunity. And if we can't take it,
Well, you have to read your Corinthians 15. So there's the creation, the fall, the redemption, and the restoration. Right?
well, I appreciate it. That's a little too deep for me.
He was like a theology major in college or something like that. He
listen,
brings this
you know,
stuff out all over the time.
I love, you know, I think about what you said to me, like, you know, had I beat Holmes that night, I probably wouldn't be here tonight with you because life was so fast leading up to that. Everybody wanted a piece. Here's my house. Take my plane. Here's my wife. You know, that's how it was back then. And
For a young
it's
kid,
hard to say no.
it's for a young kid, it's like candy.
No, I got to go run. It's at 5 a.m. You know, it's, you know, I hate
But
to run.
like Kevin said, if you had beaten Holmes, you might have thought too high of yourself, and you might have just
True,
went right on that. Yeah.
Well, thank God we'll have to find that out. But I wish I could have had a rematch with him. Because what I learned in that first fight from him, and if I would have got the rematch, today's time, they would have gave me 3 fights with him. But if I would have got the rematch, I would have different guy the second time.
There would have been a
around.
trilogy now, and
So I'm going to set this fight up for 6 months.
right in
okay?
here.
Right here. We'll have it in here. I'm going to put my money on you. Because, you know, for the shots that you took in the ring and outside of the ring, which are equally as damaging, you look pretty damn good. How old are you now?
I am 66.
You're 66 years old. A boxer to look like you at 66 years old.
I got the radio face now, guys.
Good looking guy.
What was
For
that?
the listeners, he's a good looking guy.
What was that?
Yeah, he doesn't have the boxer
No.
face like the pushed in nose, and you know.
What was the worst injury you took?
My feelings hurt a couple.
Broken
I
heart?
broke my nose once.
Okay.
I tore my rotator cuff. I snapped my tendon off my middle finger. They had to pull it out and put a pin through my hand. And the next day I was leaving for Hawaii. And, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, injuries, muscle pulls, you know, stuff like that. But, you know.
But I see.
You know what
Back
cracks me up?
then, when you're in the moment, when you're that guy, a world-class athlete, it's harmony. Like, you know, it's just everything is harmonious. Like, you don't feel nothing.
It baffles me that you broke your nose obviously like in the middle of a fight.
No, I was training and I got headbutted. And so I was supposed to fight Lee Canalito in Italy. And so, you know, they tried to give me this old helmet with this guard here, but every time they hit, the guard was hitting my broken nose.
But it cracks me up that these guys, these boxers who break their nose in the middle of a fight and they keep going. Is that adrenaline that just keeps them going? Because I broke my nose before.
Your endorphins are flying. You don't feel it, but
I broke my nose.
Then there was a night where
like
I
a
scratched
motherfucker.
my cornea, right? So we go to the doctor, and after the doctor, I'm going to a restaurant to eat. And who's sitting next to me? But Barbra Streisand and a mother or a manager. She asked if I could sit with them.
Really?
Barbra Streisand.
How's that, bro?
Wow.
I'm a badass man, bro.
She offer you a part in Yentl? Because I know you did some movie work.
Listen, I was in the Mob Queen. Check it out. Tony Sirica was great.
Tony Sirica.
Yeah,
I
rest
did a
his
couple
soul.
sets with
I
the
love that
Sopranos. He was one of the nicest guys I ever met out of the Sopranos.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a shame. Rest in peace. Obviously,
I met so many different so many celebrities. I never had any bad experience with any of them. People tell me that this guy was a prick and that guy was a prick. I said, listen, every one of us sometimes get up on the wrong side of the bed.
So a good friend of mine said that, who was very high profile. He said, if you got to be very conscious of being a public figure, because if you go out, and we all have bad days, everybody in here has had a bad day, and you get approached by the wrong time, your significant other comes at you and you snap. Now all of a sudden, Gerry Cooney's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I understand that, and I've never met anybody that I never liked.
You see,
Stallone thought a lot of himself. I
You-
was out in Atlantic City with him, walking around. He wanted people to know who he was. That's all good, though. You know what I mean? He was a movie star. He was a great big movie star. But other than that, every single buddy I ever met, I loved all of them. Every moment.
You could have just carried him out in your pocket.
Bob Hope was the greatest guy in the world. I have a picture
You-
of me,
wait,
me
you and-
kissing Bob Hope.
You and Bob Hope?
Headgear. He's looking at the camera. His eyes are up in the air like this, and I'm kissing him on the side of the face. It's the best picture I ever took. I have a picture of me and Frank Sinatra holding the heavy bag for me. So I can't tell you that people send me pictures all the time about that I don't even know are around. But I had so many great moments.
Looking back, it had to be, well deserved and well
I don't
earned.
want
But
to
it
look
had to
back.
be.
I'm looking forward.
No, I'm just saying, it had to be some
I-
charmed life with like
Yeah.
the people you met. I mean,
Other than you signed to fight Larry Holmes, and you're going to fight him 6 months in advance. You wake up every day, oh shit, I got to fight Holmes.
Well, aside from coming on the Suffering Podcast, who's the most important people you've met in your
You
life?
guys,
you
are
go.
fantastic.
You see that softball I just threw up?
I just want to say, Gerry, do you have any idea the impact you had on us young guys in Long Island?
Well,
I mean,
what?
it was huge.
I got to tell you, right? Like, I grew up in Long Island, and as I ran the streets, the garbage trucks cheered me, beeped the horns. They've all beat my horns every time they saw me. The town trucks beat the horn. I felt like that was my place.
Yep, it was, Gerry. And once I heard from the Suffering Podcast, you'd be here tonight. I mean, I know your story. In 1982, I was in 11th grade. You had us all shadow boxing in high school, and you had us pumped because you were a local hero to
I'm
us.
so sorry that I really deeply regret that I wasn't the guy I could have been that night. And I had a sickness and
Yeah, but the second fight of your life, I still say, as much as I admired your boxing career, your second fight of your life, it's probably the most difficult, but it's the one that I most admire.
no, are you kidding me? My life today is the greatest thing you could ever imagine. I have everything. I mean, I love this life.
and now you've been on a Suffering Podcast, so life just got even better.
Listen,
Have everything.
I've made amends. I've straightened my side of the street up. I try and stay in my lane.
You and I are going to have a conversation on the ride home about forgiveness, because I need to.
I'm not going to forgive you for what you said. Both you guys.
Because I want to find out exactly how you did it. Because it's again,
Ask me.
I will ask you. I will ask you. But
not here?
no, it's a private conversation.
Oh.
When the masseuses come in later on. No, I'm only kidding. If your wife's listening, I'm only kidding.
She won't listen to
No,
this.
my wife is a great lady.
So we're coming to the end of this thing here. You've had this just storied life, and
So listen, I stayed away from relationships. I focused on my life for a year. I was about coming up on 5 years being clean. And this buddy of mine in the program got a job at this accounting firm. And I was living in Florida in the wintertime. And he called me one day, and we talked for a while. He says, listen here, say hello to Jennifer. And he put her on the phone for me, and we had a nice conversation. I said, you know, when I come home, we'll go have lunch. So 3 months later, I come home. We go out to lunch. There was 4 of us. After lunch, Jennifer and me walked down the street holding hands.
You're right
Stayed
where,
alone for a year. I got to know a little bit about myself. Cleaned up, you know, a lot, and I met my wife.
you were right where you're supposed to be.
30 years ago.
30 years.
A little too young for me. Maybe she's getting old for me now. She's 12 years younger than me.
Yeah, you might have to trade her in for a newer model. Again, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
2 newer models.
You don't keep a 30. My poor wife gets it from me because I tell her she just turned 40. I said, you don't keep a 40-year-old car unless it's a classic and hunt. You ain't a classic.
That hurts.
Girls don't come with the QQ plates. You know?
No.
One question I have for you, though.
I love it.
Do you get more satisfaction out of like your career and your wins than you do the wins and the careers of the people that you're training now?
I love boxing. I'm on a At the Fight show on Sirius XM, and I know the guys. I know how they think. I know what they're working out. I know how they're making the plan. I can see it unfold.
Yeah.
Now I watch the shows. A lot of those commentators, they don't even know what they're talking about. And so, you know, I tell the truth on the radio. I tell them what's going on. This guy's breaking this guy down. Doesn't seem like it right now. He's playing him out. He's looking him out. He's finding it out. You can't just go into the fight and do your thing. You got to piss the guy out a little bit. You got to wear him out a little bit. Find what you want. Get him to where you want him to be. That's the gift.
It's got to be magic. It's got to be some kind of like satisfaction to you. One of the guys you train, to see him in the ring and he actually wins a fight. You got to be like a father figure. It's like watching your son do well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that experience where I had a guy who was training with me, and he was fighting this Marine in Hoboken. It was one of my fights for my charity, and for YCS, it's kids who struggle, and. He was a tough kid. He was not that great, but he was a tough kid, right? And I said, listen, when the 30-second bell goes off every round, I want you on that guy. You don't got to punch hard. Just throw 30 punches, just like that. And I'm outside with his father, and his father was, you know, a hard-working guy, and he were giving each other high fives, and he beat the guy's ass. And before the fight, his trainer was telling me, yeah, you're going to get it, you're going to get it. But you make a plan. Yeah. You know, I put one guy in the gloves. He won the heavyweight title. He was the oldest guy in the gloves. And I told him, the guy was a big right-hand puncher. I said, every time the right hand comes, dip to your right, weave underneath, give me 3 or 4, and turn one over and hold him. And he won the heavyweight title. So, you know, we have those moments.
Yeah.
But I love watching fighters because of the hope in their lives and where they came from and the struggle. And you hope they make it out. I made it out safe.
Yeah.
I made it out with my money in my pocket. I put my money in safety, you know, and that's what needs to be more of.
And you made it out with your brain.
Well,
a lot of these boxers now, you know, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. You know, in football, you hear about concussions and CTEs and all that.
Bad.
Yeah,
And
bad.
you know, and what they talk about with boxers is guys are punch drunk.
Yeah, poor like Gerry Quarry.
Yeah.
He just the poor guy by the end of his life, he couldn't understand
Well,
what
they
he said.
also found out that, I'll tell you a story about that when that was big. Like we had Lisa Ravden, who was on our board, who works for NYU, and she was doing a study. And she said, if I wanted to, I could come in and see if I'm prone to get dementia. And I said, no. What the hell's what I want to know for, right?
In 5 years, you're not going to remember.
Exactly.
But, you know, they have come a long way. Yeah. And I know a lot of guys that they just were so tough and could take a punch, but you can't take a punch. It catches up with you sometimes.
Do you know? I'm sure you know of him. I don't know if you know him personally. Vito Antifermo.
Oh, I used to train with him since I'm 17. I used to spar with him.
I saw Vito probably last year, and he went to a restaurant that we go to in Bayonne all the time, and he said, "Hey, what am I having for lunch?" The guy said, "Vito, you had lunch a half hour ago." He goes, "Oh, okay." Turned around and walked out.
Yeah, he must be kidding, but he did take a lot of shots, that guy. And he was tough as nails.
Great guy. I remember watching him fight when I was a kid.
His wife. He loved his wife, but you know, back in those days, he was like the man, and he thought he was the man. But you come to America, you become womanized, and the woman don't want to put up with that.
Yeah.
And he was too busy doing his thing, and so that broke his heart.
Yeah.
Broke his heart.
So, Gerry, we're coming to the end of this thing here, and I ask all the guests the same question. You've had this storied life. You've been through a lot, both inside the ring and outside of the ring, from how you grew up to how you ended up. What do you think your suffering has taught you?
You have to get up, dust off your pants, and keep moving. And you got to ask the question, can you help me?
I love that. Can you help me? I love that. Gerry, you truly are a gentleman. You really are.
That's got to be the best nickname.
I concur. What do you,
Yeah, because Charlie, you're trapped in a corner.
Hey, listen.
He gets mad at me, I can still hit the door.
Get you the corner.
listen, I got hit by Lenny LaPaglia. Remember the super middleweight he was in Long Island for a while? He hit me in the ribs one time, and the super middleweight at 168 got me.
Let me tell you a story. So I'm training at the downtown athletic club, and they got three brothers, 6'8", 6'9", 6'7", all big Irish guys, right? And so they're boxing, right? So they're going to fight me, right? So I said, listen, do me a favor. Don't back me in the corner, because when you back me in the corner, instinct takes over, and I want to fight out. So every single one of them,
You're ruining the studio, Gerry.
every single one of them
That's
backs
a
me
punch.
into the corner. And one of the kids, I hit him and broke his nose. And they were so mad at me. And the father was as big as them. And about 6 months later, I see them down in Atlantic City on the boardwalk. And the old man comes up to me like so mad. I said, listen, I told your kids not to back me in the corner. And he got it.
Well, I thank you so much for coming in with us today.
Oh, it's great
This
time,
has been incredible.
It was an absolute pleasure
Good,
having
I'm
you in
so
here.
glad.
I
Thank
mean,
you. I
is
enjoyed
great.
it. You want to need somebody to break down a fight for you? Call me up. No, I mean it. I mean, boxing is great now.
Yeah.
Big fight this weekend. Wild is fighting that great guy
Deontay Wilder.
Deontay Wilder is fighting a tough guy from, where is he from? Starts with an N. Norway. Great guy. Robert Hellenius. Big fight.
Nice.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Professional Fighter with the Gerry Cooney. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned today. Don't say bad things about Chuck Wepner in front of Gerry. Keep getting up and turn the page. Self-sabotage will squash your dreams. Work your way up. Sometimes we get comfortable with the abuse. You are a true gentleman, Mr. Cooney. But most importantly, can you help me? That's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Professional Fighter. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow Charlie at Charlie Cifarelli. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow The Suffering Podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode of Suffering Podcast.